Hey guys, we are just getting started, so please consider helping us get to our first 1,000 subscribers. Thanks. Now let's get back to the story. The silent ambush. Ethan always saw himself as a dependable, high-quality partner. He threw himself into his relationship with Aurora. It seemed like she was his sole light source. He recalled the early days, when ideas flowed freely in their chats, and laughs permeated their shared events. They had spent innumerable nights discussing, dreaming, and raising a relationship he considered to be unbreakable. Aurora had captured everything that so strongly resonated with him. Her brilliance, inventiveness, and wit made every day a happy experience. His unwavering love to her showed in the little things he did, cooking dinner after a long day, leaving love letters in her bag, or just being there when she needed him. But he had no idea. Seeds of betrayal were growing inside their empire of love. Aurora's veneer of happiness started to break as unexpected obstacles, career stress, financial instability, upset her life. Given her strange behavior, Ethan dismissed it off and assumed she was simply going through a phase related to typical life challenges. He remained encouraging since he thought their relationship would survive those challenges, and he stressed how strong their love was. The irony was that she subtly destroyed his life based on trust and loyalty from the shadows, even as he went on developing it. Ethan started to see small variations in Aurora's conduct as months stretched into a year. There were late-night calls and missed messages, blurry just below his suspicion radar. He battled with his gut. Occasionally, he felt a flash of uncertainty, but he swiftly closed it with logical justifications. He was confident in their relationship since he thought the cracks could be healed with love and understanding. This was at the heart of his philosophy. He had given her everything and expected her loyalty in return. But, as Ethan would later realize, trust can more deeply blind one than love. The disorder of deceit, the slow seep of water across a damaged dam, indicates the beginning of the unraveling now. Ethan eventually discovered Aurora's double life after a chance meeting, an ominous message on her phone. It was a brief moment, but his heart sank as he saw something he didn't understand. A shiver down his back followed his hand drop back from the screen. Every beat deepened the awareness, wounds his self-valuation. Days turned into hours, full of excruciating agony and sleepless nights. He resolved to design meticulously instead. Then face her directly. He rebuilt their common times, archiving the bits of the past that now appeared adversely colored by betrayal. His feelings, an icy calm directing his next moves rather than fury, as this new world crashed upon him. His first impulse was not to react. Rather, he would spin a counter-narrative revealing the reality. To him, vengeance was about showing he could change the story Aurora had quietly changed over long ago, not about anger. He saw this not as an emotional reaction but a deliberate response, a chess game requiring him 3 moves ahead. He started closely observing Aurora, recording her patterns and behavior in order to gain insights. Taking notes turned quickly from a basic activity into an obsessive search for perfection. Ethan put his professional skills to use. As a data analyst, he frequently examined volumes of apparently insignificant data to identify significant trends. He approached it with surgical accuracy as usual. Every phone call, every text became material for his search, driving his goal as he grew more familiar with her life outside their relationship. Aurora little knew she was inviting him unwittingly into her dark maze where secrets festered. The science of evidence assembly. Each piece of proof Ethan gathered revealed layers of treachery before him like petals from a toxic flower. He discovered repeating names and mysterious excursions. Message log records suggested a more sinister image with every discovery. The relationship was a tapestry of deception created line by line, message by message rather than a one-off occurrence. With each detail, Ethan gripped tighter to a steely resolve. Betrayal was a crime against the heart, and he would see it laid bare for the world to scrutinize. Still, he discovered flashes of great clarity amid this spiraling anarchy. The rage that might have consumed him instead turned into power and ambition. Whether by digital traces or watchful observations of her contacts with others, he committed himself to untangling her web of deception. Sheer will was the answer for nights spent in solitude. marked by the understanding that this was his means of regaining control of the story he had lost. Planning rather than execution gave him comfort, knowing he was fully aware of Aurora's deception liberated him. He also came to see the need of timing. Every insight had to be verified with perfect accuracy. This was not a haphazard project. It needed thorough planning, as if conducting a complex concert. Ethan searched among other people, friends of Aurora, former co-workers, who might offer comments on her life. He walked carefully, always covered with a false degree of indifference. During hushed talks over coffee, he collected viewpoints that would one day transform into testimonies, prepared to support the ultimate revelation of Aurora's reign of infidelity. The depth of deception for Ethan, the emotional load felt like a thick fog. With each disclosure, he would usually relive events that now appeared fraught with treachery. Once he was filled with warmth, small acts turned to anger. Soft murmurings exchanged in the shadowy light of their home became haunting echoes of treachery. It was strange. He looked for the shadow of his past self in times of quiet introspection, the trusting partner who believed in love, loyalty, and the hopes they had created together. The knowledge that the treachery spanned months, not in a single instant, made the most difficult thing to reconcile. Ethan came to understand that Aurora had been building layers of treachery even as he was creating a life of integrity. Every day reminded him of the innocence he believed they had shared. Opting to remain silent felt like a tactical decision, a plan fed by the harvest of clarity he had gathered rather than passiveness. Weeks turned into days, and gradually the schedule of her relationship became clear in his head. Ethan felt both the empowerment and the sadness that came with his intentions for exposure as her life became a badly tethered knot of lies. Once they had been together, sharing goals and dreams. Their relationship took a sharp turn. Betrayal had turned them from lovers into actors in a sad story, each enacting a part written by deception. The looming demise one fateful evening. As Ethan carefully gathered the last remnants of his story, he sensed an intense presence, almost ghostly, center of energy. By compiling the proof against her, he seemed to have recovered a piece of himself lost in the fog of betrayal. He got ready in that quiet for the physiological consequences of what he planned. Exposure would affect not just Aurora, but also every person linked to her web, friends, family, co-workers included. He felt obligated to speak the truth. Opting to ignore would no longer be available. In his opinion, the bonds of treachery went beyond just two individuals. There were collateral truths spanning their society, isolated people unintentionally caught in an amazing web of deception. Aurora's deception went far beyond their relationship. There were others whose lives might be changed by knowledge of the secret she kept so near. He would also be the harbinger of that reality, prepared to show it to the globe. He meticulously planned an unsigned message advising her family to rethink all they believed they knew about her. Then he contacted her manager, offering the findings he had compiled still hidden behind the curtain of anonymity. Every contact was a deliberate stroke in a bigger story. At last he contacted the other man's wife, thinking she also deserved the truth, to know the depth of her husband's betrayal. The exposure, the storm tore apart Aurora and everything she valued in the days that followed. What Ethan had created was a perfect storm of consequence. Those around her reacted drastically. Her constructed reality started to fall apart as whispers grew into explosive debates. Significant others reevaluated their relationships with her. Family interactions soured with the cloud of betrayal, and friends who had stood by her started to pull away. What ought to have been soothing visits turned into a tornado of mistrust and sorrow. Ethan felt an unexpected weight lift from his shoulders as he observed the tides change. He had not approached this situation with malicious delight. Rather, it acted as a reckoning, a realignment of realities set against the lies in her life. The bitter awakening, she had changed her empathy toward justice by understanding she had controlled everyone, including him. He sensed that all of this was somehow necessary for her knowledge of consequences as she watched her world fall apart. The weight of lies carried upon her shoulders would become her instructor. For her development, truth revealed before her had sheer power. It was a lesson she could not ignore and would have to reconcile with in time. Ethan's ultimate goal was a severe guiding light exposing the break of their formerly unbreakable relationship, not just revenge. Power found in startling silence via unknown means enabled Ethan to see the chaos she had created in his heart and life. That power was in exposing a truth buried under layers of betrayal, a truth she would have to confront alone, without his presence to gently soften the sides of her pain. Consequences. Ethan got ready for what would happen next, a confrontation he hoped would never occur, as the components of his plan kept influencing Aurora's life. Ethan did not want that face-to-face transaction. What made this moment poignant was that she would never fully grasp the loneliness of those actions or the deep-seated determination produced from them. His approach was quiet and steady, a stark contrast to the tidal wave of feeling first engulfed him. Ethan left their communal home. The once laughing flat echoed only emotional treachery. A malevolent actor had changed the core of their life. He was moving beyond the scene, shedding traces of their shared existence like a snake shedding its skin. His departure showed quiet will, evidence of his emotional fortitude and determination. He reconstructed his own life piece by piece in the months after that. Betrayal would always leave scars. Instead of worn remnants of the relationship he had wanted to preserve, they would become shadows of lessons learned. The encounter had changed his perspective on trust and instilled a wary perseverance. But he came to rest in the idea that he had come from betrayal not as a damaged guy, but as a battle-hardened warrior, not with time. Ethan embraced fresh experiences, investigated personal interests, and descended upon a small, supportive group of people who encouraged him rather than hindered him. Every new chapter was cathartic. He understood that one could come out whole, though changed, on the other side of heartache. His decision to stay silent as Aurora's secrets were revealed was symbolic of his strength. In that silence he retrieved his dignity. The echo of silence still, the echo of that quiet retribution returned to Aurora over time. Her fall echoed throughout their common spheres. Results resonated through family ties and social interactions. Still, the silence often drove her ideas most. Her doubts simmered despite the mayhem. Deep down she knew she had lost everything because of her actions. Her thoughts frequently returned to the one person she had betrayed as she tried to make sense of her situation. Close friends leaving, family distancing, employment on shaky ground. That Aurora's heart did not close. Rather, her mind became uncomfortable, aware that he knew. She felt unseen hands puppeteering her fate. It did not matter whether he arranged every unraveling. She saw flashes of Ethan all around in the quiet. Laughter echoed in meetings at times. Laughter she once shared. It flowed guilt waves through her. Answers were elusive for her, buried under layers of silence and sadness. Questions floated in her head. The most unsettling thing was knowing her decisions had permanently changed her path. The weights of treachery had swung in a way she never expected, and with every passing day the reality of her acts loomed like an insurpassable barrier. She yearned for answers that would never arrive. Deep in her despondency, how might someone she had known so intimately become a ghost in her life? She held an echo of doubt in her heart. Was he watching, waiting, knowing everything while she spiraled? Ethan came to see that every encounter helped to develop a better character as he kept creating new paths and relationships. Heartbreak alone did not create the layers of presence he now wore. Rather, they arose from the lessons of betrayal, resiliency, and the power of silence. Every one of these components helped him to picture his changing environment and directed him toward a future full of possibilities. Life free from the weights of his past. The legacy of quietness. The tale of Ethan and Aurora highlights the complexity of human interactions and the moral dilemmas that emerge in the sphere of relationships. The treachery revealed not just a personal battle, but also a story that went beyond into universal themes: trust, loyalty, consequence, and finally the power of silence as a weapon of self-preservation and agency. By frigid revenge, Ethan showed the great depths to which silence can resonate. In a world usually full of noise, sometimes the most powerful actions come from the quietest places. The knowledge that sometimes the best weapon against betrayal is a quiet heart holding resolve came from planning and executing a counter-narrative. Never met the hopes of emotional release. Ultimately, Ethan showed that lives defined by love and trust may also be changed by betrayal. These changing tides expose the real nature of character, how one decides to react, what lessons to carry on, and finally the legacy we choose to build beyond heartache. In this scene, silence was a source of conscious agency and intellectual empowerment, not a lack of feeling, so influencing the destinies of people caught in the ties of love and loss. Every lesson, every heartbreak, is a chance for rebirth, a sobering reminder that often our best selves spring from the ruins of betrayal.